Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanasalakaya Sakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Radhikaye Priyatmane Sri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Narayana iti namine. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin iti namine. Vanja kalpa tarupyacha Krupa Sindhupya evacha Paditanam pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha. Aradhyo Bhagavan Brajesha Tanayas Tatama Vrindavanam Ramya Kachit Upasana Braja Badhu Vargena Ya Kalpita. Srimad Bhagavatam Pramanam Amalam Prema Pumarto Mahan Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhor Matam Idam Tatra Dharana Paraha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. So today's class is actually Anartha Nivritti. Anartha Nivritti we are going to have in parts, maybe 2 parts or maybe 3 parts, we don't know yet. So today will be part 1. And this is a recap from the last week, quick summary. So in the last class, we saw 2 kinds of Bhajana Kriya. What is Bhajana Kriya? Devotional activities. And there we had 2 kinds of devotional activities. One is Nishtita and the other one is Anishtita. What is Nishtita? Means steady Bhajana Kriya. So they are the pure devotees. They will advance and they are the one who are really going to advance to different levels in the Bhakti Latha that we are talking. So our concentration was to go on the Anishtita Bhajana Kriya. So that is unsteady Bhajana Kriya. These sadhakas struggle to progress. So the conclusion was that pure devotees want nothing apart from loving devotional service to Krishna. And they do not want any happiness related to wealth or worship or fame or material enjoyment, liberation, mystic powers or personal happiness. No. All such things are unfavorable to bhakti. They will understand. They understand. So the wealth, worship and fame are the parasitic creepers, parasites. They are going to suck everything from the main tree, main plant. So this wish-fulfilling wine of pure devotion is going to be in trouble. Okay. So Anishtita, that is unsteady Bhajana Kriya sadhaka, needs to shred off their anarthas. So basically all these things, these creepers that we are seeing, they are all actually because of anarthas. Anarthas means unwanted things. So these anarthas are like the parasites on the creeper of bhakti. Okay. So that we have to understand. Now let us get into Anartha Nivritti. Anartha means unwanted things or obstacles in the path of bhakti. Nivritti means basically taking care of it or basically destroying in this case. Anartha Nivritti means destroying the unwanted, the anarthas which are basically obstacles because of the unwanted thing that we do. Okay, that are all struggle because of the like the parasites that we have seen. So that we have to remove it. So we have to destroy them. Right? But it is not going to be as simple as just spraying something on the plant. That's not going to be. So and artha. So the anartha, the word has two things. Artha and anartha. That's opposite. Opposite of artha. What is artha? Artha means which is something that has value. That means artha generally means wealth and opulence, all kind of things. That is artha. But here it means attainment of Krishna. Because attainment of Krishna is the Paramartha Vastu. Paramartha Vastu means what? That is the ultimate goal. Okay. So, Anartha means that which is not Artha. that means it has no value, right? So anartha means obstacles to supreme attainment, that is Krishna. These are described in detail in the third shower, if we see in the book. So Bhakti Yoga is easy to enter, but it is very, very difficult to maintain. We have to destroy many anarthas to proceed in the path of bhakti. There are 4 kinds of anarthas. Okay, so we also call obstacles in the path of bhakti. What are they? Duskrutota. Duskrutota means impediments arising from previous sinful activities. It has a root on our past bad karmas. Dushk means bad karmas. And Sukrito, second one is Sukrutota, means impediment that arise due to past pious activities, good karma. It has a root on our past good karma also. That is also one kind of anarthas. Yes, good karma is also an obstacle. Why? It will result in attaining heavenly facilities that cause a devotee in absorption in those facilities for material enjoyment. Also, it will lead to Swargaloka or heavens, whatever they are talking about. That is a place of enjoyment. No one can develop bhakti in heavens. Why? Because everyone will be involved only in enjoying. It is like you have a free lifetime pass for unlimited kinds of Disney worlds. Does anyone in the Disney World facility to do bhajana? Heaven is not the place for devotion. It is for enjoyment. Whatever the pious activity, the punya that you have done, you are reaping the benefit. So you are in the karma kanda. So that is why we do not want to go there at any cost. Okay, this is very important. So Sukrutota is also an obstacle. Oh, this is interesting. So bad karma is doing bad karma. That is Duskrutota is the problem. But Sukrutota is also good karma is also bad. Yes, we will find out as we go. Then the third one is Aparadota. Aparada means this is from offenses. This is dangerous ones. Here this refers offenses to holy names and also like Nama Aparad and Vaishnava Aparad. That is also number 1 in the Nama Aparad, which we will see. Then the fourth kind of obstacle, that is anartha, is called Bhakti Uddha. Bhakti Uddha means seva aparat. You see, this is applicable to the devotees who are worshipping the deities. So those religions who really don't have this kind of deity worship, of course this is not going to be applicable there, but they are not eligible even to really worship deities. Right? That's the problem. So seva aparat is also embodiment that, that is actually a part of the 4 anarthas. So that means what? What is the seva aparat? Imperfectly performed devotional activities. Okay, so this is not that serious though, as we see that. But the most serious is aparadota, that is from Vaishnava Aparat, Nama Aparat. Okay, now we are on page 185. Let us get into the Duskrutota anartha. So that is from, because of the past sins. Past sins means because of the past sins and all the activities, that impression will be carried over in our birth. And we continue from there. The karmic results will come. So many things are actually attached. So what is the root of this Duskrutota anartha is the question. That's what we are going to cover. So the Duskrutota sins result from the following 5 things. Avidya. Avidya means ignorance. See, a lot of people, they don't know the truth. Asmita, egoism. This is another problem. Raga, material attachment. Then Dvesha, aversion or hatred. And the 5th one is Abhinnivesha, material absorption. Attachment is basically what happens when you do Abhinnivesha, then the raga will come, attachment will come. That is the problem. Okay, so they are actually 2 different intensities different. So all these had been already described in the previous classes. Especially if you see in the book Second Shower, it's really primarily talking about all these. So all these are also called the seeds of Papa Purusha. Right? We really covered that also. Papa Purusha is not a real personality as proposed as Satan or something in other religions. How can we understand this? these bad qualities are actually like darkness. Okay, because Jiva does not have, a Sutta Jiva does not have anything to do with this. No sins, nothing, it's free, it's pure. But then how it is happening? Because of the contaminated stage we are in when we really fell down. So, this Papa Purusha is like a darkness. Okay? So, all the bad qualities are like darkness only. Why it is compared to darkness? Because darkness is not a real substance. How is darkness defined in science? The science says darkness is lack of light. It is not a substance. Just because the room is dark, you cannot really take a bucket and then keep on actually taking the darkness out and bucket full of this thing and then throwing out. Hey, what are you doing? I'm just emptying my room, because it's dark. I'm really taking the darkness out. It's not possible because darkness is defined as lack of light. So as soon as the light, what is the light? Spiritual knowledge comes in, the darkness, which is Duskrutota, will vanish. Okay. So now again, page 185. Now the second one is Sukrutota Anartha. What is it? These are the desires for happiness. Of course, every Jiva has the desire for happiness. Why? Because it's an inherent quality of Jiva is to be blissful. But we are, instead of attaching to the spiritual happiness, we are really getting into attaching with the material happiness. That is what is the problem. Okay, so yes, our soul is Satchidananda, blissful, but we are attached to the wrong kind of bliss. That's the problem. Okay, so also not only that, also because we are stuck in this world, we want to be free from birth and death. That is moksha. So that means anything that is a bhukti. Bhukti means what? Bhukti means it is material desire for material enjoyment. And what is mukti means is desire for liberation. Okay, so they are actually trying to, so what are they trying to do in the Sukrutota Anartha? What is that means is by people in that tendency having that concept are trying to do good things, good deeds, good acts to attain what? Bhukti or mukti. But the problem is it is not possible to taste bhajana rasa, the real nectar of devotion, as long as the heart yearns for either material enjoyment, which is bhukti, or the liberation, mukti. That is why this sloka is coming from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhukti mukti spruga yavad pisachi kriti vartate tavad bhakti sukas yatra katam abhyudayo bhavet. So it says, as long as the two witches, there are two witches, Pisachi. Pisachi where? In the Hriti. In the Hridaya, there are actually two kinds of Pisachi. If you are possessed by those two kinds of Pisas, what happens? Then Bhajana Rasa is not going to be there. So as long as these two witches have desires for material enjoyment and for liberation from material bondage remain in the heart, how can the transcendental bliss of pure devotion possibly there? Katham abhidyota bhavet. How will it come? So also for this reason, even Patanjali also, he's also, when he was talking about other he is such a prominent sage. He has included the category of Sukruti, Jata, Anartha also there. If you read that. That is what. So these two things, Bhukti and Mukti together, if they really have in our heart, we won't have Bhajana Rasa. We cannot really advance in Krishna Bhakti. So now the third one is Aparadota Anartha. What is Aparadota Anartha? This is a serious one. These are the obstacles arising from offenses. Aparadha means offenses. Offenses towards whom? The devotees of Krishna, especially Vaishnavas. So these anarthas are the greatest impediments in the Bhakti Yoga. So the examples are Vaishnava Aparadha, that is the topmost. There are 10 great aparadhas against the holy name of the Lord, and this Vaishnava Aparadha is one of the topmost. So Vaishnava Aparadha is way greater than any sins that we can think of. We are going to see that. No one can save a Vaishnava Aparadhi. No one can save. Okay? Actually, any sinful person can easily achieve perfection by Hari Bhajana. See? That Papa Purusha, that all everybody is talking about, Satan and everything they're talking about, actually, you see, it's not a big deal. These kind of sins can be very easily eradicated by Hari Bhajana. So Papa Purusha is similar to the idea of Satan that we are talking about, but the tendency to commit is the Papa Purusha. We all, everybody has, most of the jivas are because we are fallen, we have the tendency to really do these kind of papas. Okay? So now people may say, oh, you have committed sin, then you cannot get God, you are gone, you are going to be put in eternal hell. What kind of God is that if he is putting in eternal hell? But our Shastras clearly says that. No, just by doing Hari Bhajana, chanting the holy name, all the papas are eradicated. Sarva papa, we're done. Eka Krishna Nama Kare, Sarva Baba, finished. So also some used to say, you know what, Satan is on the left shoulder and the angel is on the right shoulder, and now you are going back and forth, and it's not true. It's all bogus. Somebody invented all these. So people try to blame whatever the sinful things that they do on somebody else. Oh, because of Satan I was doing. Okay? So if they eat meat, support slaughterhouses, and drink wine, they are the real Satans. They are the real sinners. So here is a list of some of the sins as written in the Smriti Shastra as papas or sins. To harm another living entity, to steal from anyone, to engage in useless gossip. That's also a sinful, by the way. It is there in the Smriti Shastra. And argument, unnecessary argument, to use harsh language, and to perform improper acts, to give distress to another, to criticize others, to drink wine or any liquor, to eat meat, eggs, and other forbidden foodstuffs. They're all there in the Smriti Shastra. They all have been classified in the Smriti Shastra as papa, sins. When any sinner, when absorbed in bhajana, will come out of their sinful activities and eventually attain perfection. That's it. So the secret is again bhajana only. It's coming to bhajana kriya. They will attain to perfection, no problem at all. There is no such thing eternal hell. Hell is only very, very temporary. You really, and then after that, because the God, because He is merciful, He will actually, He will give so many chances. They see, correct yourself. That's what it is. He's not a dictator that you have done 51% the sins and you go to eternal hell. No, what kind of God? We don't want that kind of God. No. So his very important thing here is, it is never possible for a ever offensive person to attain perfection. So he'll be struggling. He will be probably going to hell and heaven or whatever if it is. But chances will be always given. That is why these worlds are billions of years. It is all going on because the jivas are coming and using these to really improve themselves, correct themselves, and then attain. So now let us look at the causes of sinful activities. What are the root causes of the sinful activities? Why does a person perform sinful activities? It is because a person identifies himself or herself with the body. This is where the root is there. You will be surprised, if you really ponder over it, you will find out, wow, that's what it is. And because of that, false ego manifests. So first what happens? We think that we are the body, and then automatically the false ego comes. What is the false ego? I am not the soul, I am the body. I am the body. And then because of the false ego, a desire for material enjoyment manifests in the heart. So this is the cause of sinful activities. Lord Buddha says desire to enjoy is the root of sinful activities. To enjoy, what are the things? Because just to enjoy, what are the things that people are doing in this world? We are seeing. They steal from another, commit violent acts, tell lies, and eat meat and fish because to satisfy their body. Right? For five senses, just to satisfy their five senses, they do all kinds of things. Drinks wine or liquor and so on. So if we give up the concept that we are the body and realize that we are Atma, the Jiva, the false ego goes out. And because the false ego dies, the urge for sense enjoyment will vanish. So that is why this sloka is clearly saying that Deho astimam sarudire abhimmatim tyajatvam Jaya sutadishu sada mamatam vimuncha pasyanisham jagatidam kshanabhanganishtam vairagya ragarasiko baba bhakti nishtaha. See, this is from Srimad Bhagavatam Mahatmya. Give up the thought that you are the body. It is actually nothing but a collection of bones and flesh and blood. Give up the ownership of wife, children and etc. You have only duty, that's it. You don't have any permanent attachment. They don't have anything to do with your soul. Realize that this world is very temporary. Show interest only in Govinda. He is our eternal relation. And be relished with him and become a rasika and become detached from everything else other than him. How? By performing devotional service unto the primeval Lord Govinda with great determination. So the third aparadhata, has, what we are talking about, this aparadhata, anartha has 9 types. Okay? Adi pataka. Pataka means sin. Ati means big sin. I'm not going to go through all the things because this is actually, it will drag a lot. So basically it's all sins. Mahapataka, very big sin. Anupataka, crimes such as theft, murder, adultery, etc. Upapadaka, minor crimes, cow slaughter, insulting parents, etc. Insulting parents are also upapadaka. Then also we have Changarigana, Apatrikarana, Jati Pramasakara, Malavaha, and also Prakirna. Okay, so if you actually, there is one complete big article written by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He really explained in the more detail, because even in the thoughts, that's what the rest of the. So the thoughts, bad thoughts are also going to incur sins. Okay. So anyway, from this, it can be easily understood how offense and papas and all the sins pose fearful obstacles to one's progress to bhakti. Now, how can we destroy these? Of course, everything coming into the chanting only. Chanting Krishna Rama. We'll come to that again. Okay, now, before we get to the main core of the topic, compared to the sinful acts, okay, so we really talked about sinful acts and also aparadhas, that are offenses to devotees, right? So, compared to the sinful acts, these offenses are unlimitedly more severe. Okay? But because the effects of the sin, the sins, what do? They cover our subtle body. They contaminate our subtle body. Not the gross body, subtle body. What is subtle body? Mind, intelligence, and our false ego. These are the parts of the subtle body which we cannot see anyway, right? So these sins actually cover only, it can touch only the subtle body, not the soul. No. But aparadhas will cover the soul. This is where it is very, very dangerous. So offenses committed to pure devotees who are repositories of loving devotional sentiments to Bhagavan are more detrimental than offenses even to Bhagavan himself. You can offend Bhagavan, but if you offend a devotee, a pure devotee of Bhagavan, you are finished. You are finished. So it is thus understood from the scriptures that an offense to a Vaishnava is more grievous than an offense to Bhagavan. Okay, that you have to understand. Okay, so sins can be really easily eradicated because that cover only the subtle body, they contaminate only the subtle body. But aparadhas, they contaminate, Vaishnava aparadhas contaminate the soul itself. It's very difficult. Only those who to whom you did the aparadh, you have to get forgiveness from him. Then only this can be saved. Anyway, we'll see that. All right, now let us get into the Seva Aparadh. Okay, Seva Aparadh means the offenses that really arise from worshipping the deities. Okay, in Padma Purana there are 32 kinds of Seva Aparadhas listed. I will go through very quickly. Okay, you can only read the book anyway because we won't have that much time. Now, 1. To enter a temple wearing shoes or slippers. 2. To enter a temple carried on a palanquin or a carrier. You cannot go in a car and then go straight away in front of the temple and get down. No, that's also aparadh. To not observe the festivals of one's worshipable deity. To fail to offer obeisances to one's worshipable deity when present before him. As soon as we see our deity, we have to give worship, obeisance. 5. To offer prayers to Bhagavan while one still has food in one's mouth or one's hands. You are eating, then you are trying to come and then offer prayers to Bhagavan. That is offense. 6. To offer prayers to Bhagavan in an impure state. You are not even taken bath. Many people in this, especially in the Western culture, they don't really take bath all the time. Maybe once in a week or something, because they think, otherwise my hair decoration will go away. Whatever they say that. It's all nonsense. No. One has to actually take bath, in fact, every day morning before doing anything, right? And also, preferably, and in the night also. But anyway, morning is very important. So, now, 7. To offer obeisances to the Lord only one hand. Oh, you like that one hand down, one hand, oh Lord. No, not like that. You have to use both the hands. 8. To show one's back to the deities even when circumambulating. Even when we are going around the deity, we should not show our back to the deity. 9. To spread one's legs before the deity. We are not supposed to spread our legs in front of the deity. 10. To sit before the deity with one hand, one's hands binding one's raised knees. Like that, just hold on, it's not possible, we should not do that. To lay down or sleep before the deity. You are not supposed to lay down or sleep before the deity. To eat in front of the deity. No, never. 13. No, to speak falsehoods before the deity. You should never tell a lie in front of a deity. 14. To shout or talk loudly before the deity. We should never. And 15. To gossip before the deity. When you are seeing the deity doing Seva Aparadh, the only talk or only thing coming is the prayers and only the glorification about the deity. Okay, no gossip there. And 16. To cry before the deity. This is very dangerous. I mean, many people, when they have some difficulty, they go and cry in front of the deity. You should never do it. Number 16 said, you should never cry before the deity. 17. To show favor to or chastise others in front of the deity. In front of the deity, suppose somebody is making a mistake or something, we are not supposed to chastise them also. We are not saying, no, we are not putting, whatever it is. We just, because it's very, very important to really follow all these rules. And 18. To speak harsh or cruel language before the deity. We cannot do that. And 19. To cover oneself with blanket while standing before the deity or while engaged in service. We are not supposed to cover ourselves with any blanket. 20. To blaspheme others before the deity. In front of the deity, we shall not really complain about others. 21. To glorify others before the deity. Okay, there may be somebody doing some good thing. Yeah, very nice. No, never. Only glorification is for the deity only. 22. To use vulgar language before the deity. 23. To pass gas before the deity. 24. To offer the deity items of inferior quality. In fact, the Shastra says we should not even offer any flower which doesn't have any fragrance. In this country, what flower has fragrance? Actually, this is a Seva Aparadh, in fact. Okay? And also 25. To eat foodstuffs not offered to the deity. If you eat anything which is not offered first to the deity, you are actually insulting. So that means you have to offer to the deity and then only you can eat. 26. To not offer seasonal fruit and flowers as soon as they are available. It has to be fresh and also it should be seasonal. 27. To offer the first portion of something to someone and then give you the remaining part of the deity. Some people they say, oh, they really buy some nice jasmine from Indian grocery, very nice. Hey, it is too much. All right, okay, let me get some of them and then put it on my head, and remaining I will take it to the bhajana and then give it to the deity. Very, very dangerous. 28. So sit with one's back to the deity. We should never show our back to the deity. 29. To offer obeisances to others before the deity. Okay. And 30. To remain silent before the spiritual master. Now the thing is, this is another thing is, when in front of the spiritual master, first you have to understand that you have to assume that you are a fool. Okay, this is how you have to really position yourself. Okay, this is then only the mercy will start flowing. Because the mercy will start flowing from what? The water, how does the water flow? The water flows from the top to bottom. Right? Not the other way. Okay. So the 30 says more even. To remain silent before the spiritual master, meaning to not offer him praise or obeisance and not answer his questions. So you have to give obeisance, and also means what? You have to any questions that he is asking, you have to answer. Okay, so this is the etiquette about the spiritual master. That is also coming as seva aparadha, in fact. 31. To praise oneself before the deity. And 32. To blaspheme the demigods. We should not blaspheme. We have to honor. But we'll say, yes, give the obeisance, and then saying, yes, my only one and only goal is Krishna. Okay, and these are the 32 kinds of seva aparadhas. And now 40 is there. Also in the Varaha Purana, there are 14 kinds of seva aparadhas actually mentioned there. Number 1, to eat food grains offered by a king or by a materialistic person. Oh wow! Because it's not offered to the deities. Even if it is coming from a king, you are not supposed to take it. If you are a devotee. And also, you should not eat anything cooked by a materialistic person. Especially those who have taken initiation, including even Harinam. You have to make sure that you do not eat any food cooked by a non-devotee. Why? Their thoughts goes into the food. That is why we should not eat outside also. Okay, so when they are really doing, in the restaurant, right, they really do all, they do cooking, what kind of mentality they will have? He'll be thinking very bad thing about the boss and, not getting salary, why I am working this many hours, everything, all the things are going on, all the thoughts will go, because your food has 3 kinds of things, right? So I really covered that before. And there is something which actually goes to the mind. Then the remaining is a waste. Okay, so the second part which goes to the mind, that's what we are talking about. That is they're coming from the person who is cooking the food. Okay, so if the person is not a devotee, he is not going to be really having the mood of the Lord. Okay, that's why we should never eat grains offered by even a king or any cooked by any materialistic person or even given by the materialistic people. We cannot. Okay, if he is an initiated devotee, you can get it. You can do it. Initiated means it should be offered anyway to the Lord. Then only you can of course eat it. To worship or touch the Lord in a dark room. Array, you just have the dark room and the deity is there. You cannot go and then touch the deity. It's prohibited. Third, to go before the Lord without following the proper procedure. When you approach the deity, first thing is that you have to give the obeisance. You cannot just like that walk in and then join the bhajan. It's not possible. Then 4, to open the door of the temple without ringing a bell. At least you have to knock the door. If you don't have a bell, you have to really knock the door. 5, to collect ingredients of service that have been seen or touched by an animal. That is why those people who have dogs or cats, we really covered one Harikatha, in fact, here, part of that, they have a deep trouble here. They cannot satisfy this one at all. Invariably, it will be seen or touched or whatever it is. Okay, so this is very important. Then 6, to break silence while worshipping the Lord. So when you are worshipping the Lord, telling the mantra, you have to keep silent. Even somebody is calling you, don't answer. You have to keep continuing until that you really complete it. 7. To leave the worship of the deity to pass. Okay, this is another thing. Suppose all of a sudden you are saying that, all right, now I need to go to bathroom. That is offense. It's a seva aparat. Even in the middle of Arati, one cannot leave. So that means when you are coming to the entry, to the temple room, you are not prepared. You should have gone to the bathroom or past stool or urine or whatever that you have to finish it up before and clean yourself. Don't come just like that, wiping with all the Western style this thing and then come into the temple room. No. In fact, the Shastra says when you pass urine, pass a stool, you have to take bath. This is how Shastra says. I have seen it many times, again and again. 8. To offer incense first. Okay, this is the thing. To offer incense first without offering scented sandalwood pulp or flower garland. So first you offer the flower and then you really offer the scent, not the other way. So look at how detailed it is going. 9. To worship the Lord with forbidden flowers, such as red hibiscus. Remember this, we are not supposed to offer. And also Tatura flowers, they are actually don't have any smell or bad smells. We are not supposed to really offer. Any flower which doesn't have any smell, don't offer it. That is the period. That is how it goes there. Number 10. To worship the Lord without having cleansed one's teeth. You cannot just like that get up and then come and then take care of the deities. Absolutely not. You have to cleanse your teeth, take bath, whatever, after going to bathroom, everything, and then only you can come to the worship. Doesn't matter how late you are coming. That's different. You have to finish this one. 11. To worship the Lord without bathing. After suppose, you are actually touching, man or woman, if you are actually touching, you should be very, very careful. You have to complete full bath and then only you can come to the deity room. 12. To render service to the Lord after touching a woman or on her menstrual cycle, an oil lamp or a dead body. Okay, this is something that everybody knows that. Because the thing is, we have to be, we'll be contaminated. Right? That is why, in the times of periods and also the death, suppose somebody has actually died, basically those things will actually get into as a contamination. It's called Titu. Okay, so we have to really wait. We cannot really do any service to the Lord. 13. To render service to the Lord while wearing red, blue or unwashed cloth. Okay, red color, no. Blue color, no. And you have to wear fresh, basically washed cloth every day. Okay, and also you cannot wear somebody else's cloth. Or you cannot wear dirty, a dirty cloth anyway. 14. To touch the deity and offer worship after seeing a dead body. After passing gas. After showing anger. After visiting a crematorium. Or even while suffering from indigestion. Or after taking an oil massage. You cannot. What should you do? You go and then take bath. Of course, you have to take bath, but if you really went to crematorium or you have birth or death or anything in the family, of course you are barred from doing any seva for a certain number of days depending on your qualification, because that qualification really depending on your qualification, your mindset will be there, so the days are different. Now there are also 19 kinds of seva aparadas in other scriptures. 1. To disregard scriptures about Bhagavan and introduce other literatures. Whatever that our all the way from starting from Krishna, Lord Krishna has really given to us through the saintly personalities, those are the only Shastra that we are supposed to follow. That is why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Srimad Bhagavatam is the only thing that you need to really worry about it. Other Shastras also there. Brahma Samhita is there, and then Srimad Bhagavad Gita is there. There are other, also 6 Goswami, they have really given a lot of them. They are also there. These are the only scriptures that we are supposed to follow, and all others we don't have to. So we should not disregard the bhakti scriptures proposed by Bhagavan himself. And also to chew betel nut while standing before the Lord. You cannot really, because India, especially North India, they always keep on chewing betel nuts, right? They put like that, they put something, and then they do offer prayers also. This is Seva Aparat. This is Seva Aparat. And 3, to worship the Lord with flowers kept or in a forbidden, leaves such as those from the castor oil plant. Basically, we cannot really offer certain flowers. We really saw that. Anything which is not having any fragrance, we are not supposed to offer actually. Okay? But then, also castor oil plant and some other plant which actually gives some, very different aroma, we are not supposed to offer to the Lord. 4, to perform worship at an inauspicious time that is opportune for demons. In this world, if we see that, because demigods are also coming in, and also demonic also they are actually coming in. So, especially in certain times like the midnight and all, we have to be actually very careful. So, certain times the demonic influence will be there. So, that time you should not worship. So, what is the best time to worship the Lord? The Brahma Muhurta. That means 1.5 hour approximately. It's about 48 plus 48, which is 96 minutes. Before the sunrise is the Brahma Muhurta. That is the time to really do the main puja. The noon is just a noon arati to really offer bhoga. Then evening sayana arati, you really do that, and then so after that, once you really put the deity to sleep, and then after, let us say 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock and all, then the time is for demons. Demonic influence will be there. Okay, so those asuras and all the ghostly, ghosts, they all will be there. They're, see, that is why in the night, actually people are really afraid of going out, especially they really have the fear of the ghosts and all, because they know ghosts are actually there. Okay, a lot of people have really seen anyway. Alright, so now 5th is to perform worship while seated on a wooden stool or while sitting on the floor and not on an appropriate seat or asana. So basically, this is something very, very important too. Suppose you cannot sit on the floor, you cannot sit, but you have to put some small cloth, okay, just a cloth, a towel or something, whatever. You sit on that, not on the because all our homes here are carpeted, so we don't have a problem. But in India and other places where they're all touching the earth, we are not supposed to offer the puja. So we have to put a cloth, or you can sit on the low level pedal, but on that you have to actually put a cloth. So that's what it really means there. So basically we have to be really very, very careful. So 6th, to touch the deity with the left hand while bathing him. Many people have doing this Seva Aparat. When you are actually getting the bath, and then of course you have to really pour the water using your right hand. But you have to hold on the deity. What you will do? You will have the tendency to hold the deity with the left hand. But you have to remember that's the Seva Aparat. Actually, according to this one, it's very difficult actually. That is why deity worship is not for everybody. And then 7, to worship the Lord with flowers that have wilted or been procured by begging. You are really begging for the flowers and then offering. Unless you are a Baba, that is different. Babaji is different. They are different. But the thing is, you should not be offering flower which actually withered. It has to be fresh flowers. And 8, so to spit at the time of worship. Sometimes these people, especially when you are there, you are doing porn, and they are doing some priests, they do the puja, and then things like that, they will spit and then keep on continuing. So this is a big Seva Aparat. 9, to boast that I am a first class pujari, priest. You should never ever think. You should think that you are the dust of the devotees. You should never boast that I am a pujari, I am a priest. Should not have that ahankar. Okay? This is very important. 10. To wear Triyak Pundraka Tilaka. Triyak means three. This one. What that they like Lord Shiva, Shaivites. They put like this. You should never wear that. That is highly tamasic. It is actually having the root, origin from the crematorium. That is how it all done. So they, of course, they really burn the cow dung and everything, mix everything, and then they say the holy ash. No, there is no place in our worship for these what it's called Triyak Pundratilaka. No, you cannot do that. Vibhuti. No way. No one can actually, worship the deity Krishna devotees by wearing that. That's number 10. Number 11. To enter the temple without washing one's feet. Yes, we have to wash the feet. That's why in front of many temples, there will be always a water tap. So you go there, wash your feet and then go. That is the proper way. Very important. 12. To offer grains to Sri Hari that have been cooked by non-devotees. Remember, we already covered that. This is coming from other scriptures. Anyway, non-devotees, that means one who has not taken initiation, period. You should never ever take that and offer to the Lord. Period. He is not going to accept it. Because they don't have even the tendency to really take even Harinam. Why do I need? So they are not devotees. They are demonics. The demons won't really take any initiation, nothing. 13 is to worship the Lord in front of a non-devotee. If there is a non-devotee that you are seeing, non-devotee means a materialistic person also. If you see a person, you should not even do any worship. Look at how the Shastras are so strict about it. That is why this deity worship is not for every religion. You are not supposed to worship the Lord in front of a non-devotee because your mood will finish. It will get contaminated because you are progressing. You are like a plant growing. These will all kill, like the weeds, all the creepers. They will actually do only damage to your growing devotion. It needs protection. Number 14. To worship the Lord without first worshipping Sri Narasimha Deva. So this is the scripture says. But our Gurudev says, Narasimha Deva, Lord Narasimha Deva. But our Gurudev says, why do you want to even go to that level? Narasimha Deva, you are asking for protection and obstacles. What do we need? You just worship Lalita Devi. Lalita Devi is more. She can even chastise Krishna. She can actually make sure that you have been engaged in the service of Krishna. She is very powerful than Lord Narasimha Deva. Okay. This is our Gurudev says. But anyway, Narasimha Deva is the way to start. 15. To worship the Lord having just seen a Kapalika mendicant. Anyone, any Mayavadis who really have Kapalas, the dead skulls in there, or either in their hand. Remember, for the baking bowl, they really take that as a Kapala. This skull, that's what they really take as a baking bowl. If you are seen, you are contaminated. And even you cannot see that kind of mendicant. Mayavadis, you cannot even see. This devotion, the Krishna Bhakti that we are talking about is not ordinary. This is very high. It's a jewel. So you have to protect the jewel in the nice place. It is very costly. That is why these are all coming there. 16. To bathe the deity with water that has been touched by fingernails. Two reasons you will be touching actually. One is to really tell the mantra Ganga, Ganga, Yamune, Jaiva, Godavari, Saraswati, like that, to purify that as a sacred water. You will touch with your middle finger and tell the mantra. Make sure that your nails are not touching the water. Then the second way that you can do that, you may touch that is, you are actually, suppose it's a winter, you are actually, making warm, the warm, you want to see how warm it is. It should not be too hot, it should not be too cold. So then you touch. again make sure that your nail is not touching the water. Okay. 17. To worship the Lord while one's body is perspiring. Arey, you go out for a run, or run outside, and you are perspiring. Never get into the deity room. You have to take bath. So when you are perspiring, you are not supposed to offer any worship to the deity. 18. To step over or mistreat the Lord's remnant prasad items. Suppose there are some flowers offered to Lord, which is there scattered on the floor. You should never step on it. You have to take them out, move them away, and then keep it in a place where so that you can dispose. In fact, the proper way to dispose is to put it in the river. Okay. Otherwise, make sure that it's not really getting mistreated. Okay. Then also even the prasadam, when you are actually giving, putting out the excess or something, you have to be really very careful in dispatching that. And also flower garlands. 19th, never ever take any oath in front of the deities. Suppose somebody is really not convinced by whatever you are telling the truth or not, and you want to make sure that you are telling the truth, and you are calling, like the Sakshi Gopal. Remember Sakshi Gopal? Actually, as per that case, it was actually Lord was very, very, very merciful. You should never take any oath in front of the Lord saying, I will do this. No, you can do that in front of your Guru. Not a problem. You take oath and then I will chant this many rounds. Yeah, you give the oath. But not in front of the deity. Deity is so different. Okay? So, these are the different kinds of seva aparat that we have seen. Now, we are actually approaching the time. In fact, I am only on the 16th slide here. So, I have to break that into another one. What I will do is, I will go through some of the important ones, just 2 more slides and then end here. Now, how can one eradicate the seva aparadas? Seva aparadas, as we have seen, if committed by devotees who are prudent and righteous, or for the most part nullified on a day-to-day basis by taking shelter of chanting the holy name. So eventually it is coming to that one which is the top of all the 9 angas of bhakti, which is the chanting and nama sankirtan. And when you are constantly engaging in the service of the Lord, as a result, the seva aparadas cannot even come afterwards. Okay? But again, remember, seva aparadas.
One question. When you how to hold deity when we wake up? Deity says, you said, we cannot.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so what you do? Yeah, there is a very good question. Yes, when you are waking up the deity, right? You are actually using both the hands.
You have to know.
There is no other way. What you do is, always remember, the right hand can really touch the deity. Left hand should really rest on the bottom, the cloth they are wearing. That's all you have to do. Very easy. That's how you have to do. Okay? Or if the deity itself is, deity himself or not itself. Deity is not having any trust. Suppose you are actually trying to install. You have to use a cloth on your left hand, and then you really use that along with the cloth to really lift the deity. Okay, so basically the left hand should not touch the deity. That's basically whatever that is. That's what we have to
giving bath also tough.
Yeah, giving bath also is actually tough. That is why if you see how the pujaris actually are doing the deities, they hold the deities. They hold the left hand on their the part of the left, on the right hand, then hold the deity with right hand.
Is it tough?
And
you have to take like this.
Yeah. But you have to see how they do it. They do it. We have to really reach, see how the qualified acharya, the priests are really performing that. Because eventually what happens is, when you come to the high level, When come to the high level, what happens? Okay, this is what. These are all for in the growing level. Okay, we are not even there in the higher levels. See, not the Baba level, Baba or Prema. No, because when someone has really come to that level, these rules and regulation goes away. You see the history of our Vamsidasa Babaji. He's completely opposite. He was talking to the deity. Do you think that he would have strictly followed that? Remember, once he really took the deities and then he was punishing the deity. Remember? Yeah. So when you come to the level higher and higher, then whether you are using left hand, right hand, or whatever it is nothing happens. Because in the beginning stage, in a Shraddha, then Bhajana, then comes the Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, and now we are the Anartha Nivritta. When we are coming through stages, we have to be following Vaiti Bhakti. Then the Raganuga Bhakti, when it comes there up and up, then these Seva Aparad will vanish. That's what coming. We'll cover over the same topic actually as we go higher. So the Seva Aparad in the highly elevated devotees do not exist. That is it. So Seva Aparadas can be very easily eradicated, and when the Baba comes up, these Seva Aparadas has not, they don't have much meaning at all. You try to follow, but it is not a thing, because you are now bound by love, not by rules and regulation. You are not the Vaiti, you are in the Raganuga as we go higher. Then the rules and regulation will go away. But however, we have to understand what are the rules and regulation, so that when we grow from the lower level to high level, you have to be very careful, and then only, remember, it's like protecting the Bhakti Vriksha. Okay, so when you really down, and it has to grow up and grow up. When it has really come up, grown up as a big tree, big thing which is really about to really pierce all the way through the Brahmajyoti, you are very strong. These all the aparadas have no meaning there at all. Okay, we'll actually touch that as we go. So wise, saintly persons, by regularly chanting the holy name of Sri Hari, singing his glories, reciting various prayers, and constantly engaging in service to him, ensure the daily removal of offences committed to him in service. So service aparadhis, seva aparadhis can be very easy, but you have to understand. Okay, these are the aparadhas. Now, we covered about different sins, right? Sins and aparadhs. Aparadhs are dangerous because aparadhs cover the soul. But the sins cover only the subtle body. So now here, this is the core of this, whatever that I was really talking about, is how these can be eradicated is a question. How can we destroy these sinful reactions? Chanting Krishna Nama destroys all the sins. It also removes any tendency to make any more sins. There is no need for anyone, any prophet or anyone to really die on a cross just because of our sins. It's not, just these are nothing. Just simply chant the Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, you cry. And finished. We will cover that again. So now, Eka Krishna Name Kare Sarva Papanasha. Premera Karana Bhakti Karena Prakasha. Premera Udaye Haya Premara Vikara. Sweda Kamba Pula Kadi Gadgada Sudara. Uttering Krishna Nama just once annihilates all the sinful reactions. Papa, nobody need to die on cross. Why? Because when you have taken the holy name of Lord Krishna, who is the topmost of all the spiritual abodes, he is very powerful. We will conclude today. So we really covered 4 kinds of anarthas. Duskrutota, impediments arising from previous sinful activities, that is coming as a vasana. It's coming now in this birth. Sukrota means impediments that because of the pious acts, good karma. Then aparadhota, impediments arising from what? Aparadas. We really touched it again. We will go through that. Then, because aparadhota, we will actually cover once again more detail. Bhakti Uddha is seva aparadh, what we just covered. So, the root cause of all the sinful activities is bodily consciousness. So aparadhas are the real dangerous than sins. Chanting Krishna Nama destroys all the sins. And we covered 32 kinds of seva aparadhas from Padma Purana, and 14 kinds of seva aparadhas from Varaha Purana, and 19 kinds of seva aparadhas in other scriptures. And we will continue on 10 topmost offenses which we covered in the Jeva Dharma a long time back. We'll quickly go through that, and then we'll talk about the Vaishnava Aparadh, which is the most dangerous. Because if you do Vaishnava Aparadh, that even one Suddhanama will not come. Many people who are chanting, Suddhanama is not coming. Why it is not coming? Because I have done some Vaishnava Aparadh. Suddhanama is not going to come. Okay? Now it's an intricacy. So we'll cover that in next week's class, same time. And next shower is going to be actually, Anartha Nivritti Part 2. Vanja Kalpacharipchecha Kripa Sindhupya Evacha Paditanam Pavanepyo Vaishnavepyo Namo Namaha. Thank you. Hare Krishna.